Welcome back to Mindful Martha. Thank you so much for joining in today. I really appreciate all of your support and time to listen to our next topic of the week, which is pressure. So, we've covered quite a few really important topics in the last few weeks. But one of the things that I've learned that sometimes gets in our way is when we are surrounded by a lot of pressure. I think immediately we think about work. Most people think about work or home when we think about pressure. Those are probably the two biggest things that weigh on our shoulders the most, right? But it goes beyond that. It's not just the outer pressure that we're getting from others. It's the pressure that we put on ourselves that most of the time is not as necessary as we need it to be. I think as humans, we just feel sometimes that we need to take on more than we can actually handle, or we multitask, which is a huge thing now. Everyone feels like, well, I can do this and that and this and that, and then we end up getting sick or exhausted or so angry that we take it off on others and perhaps on ourselves, right? So I want us to think about first, what is that pressure that we put on ourselves? Because I think that once you're able to dissect what are those things that you feel that are the most cumbersome for you, and you can break it down and perhaps delegate or minimize or completely delete out of your life, then when that outside pressure does confront you, you'll be able to handle it in an easier and better way. I also think that we are hard on ourselves when it comes to the word no and yes. Many times we want to be a people pleaser. We want to please our in-laws or our spouse, our partner, our children, our friends, our coworkers, our bosses, and the list goes on, right? But at the end of the day, who we really should be pleasing and making the most happy is ourselves, because you're the one who has to live with yourself, right? So why not make it the best self that it can be? So I want you to list, and it doesn't have to be physically written, but you can make a mental list of 5 things that you know you put pressure on yourself about. Maybe it could be, when I get home, I must do the laundry. I have to do it today. There is no choice. Or maybe another one is, I have to go, visit that person that I haven't gone to see in 2 weeks, but I'm supposed to, because if I don't, they're going to be angry at me. Or maybe another level of pressure that you put on yourself is, maybe you have a deadline at work and the deadline is not for 2 weeks, but in your head you're saying you want to get it done in 1 week, because that way you can tackle on the next thing. Or maybe you're putting pressure on yourself about how many things your children should be doing. Your child must be in a specific sport, or your child must play a certain instrument, or your child must be part of a certain group of kids. I mean, the list goes on what we put the types of pressure on ourselves, and there are different levels of pressure. And those were just a few that I named. And it's going to be subjective because everyone is different. So you think about, what are the 5 top things that you put a lot of pressure on yourself about? And then I want you to rank it. Think about, how important is this really in my life? Do I really need to get the laundry done today? Like, is that super necessary? Or maybe can I just do 1 load opposed to the 4 loads I was planning to do? Does my child really need to be, playing lacrosse and playing the violin and being part of the honors group and being part of all their meetings every week? Is it possible that maybe your child doesn't really like one of those things? And so you give your child choices as to maybe eliminating one of them or taking on one of those things at a different time of the year so it's broken half and half, so you don't feel the pressure of running around and having to take them to these different events. Or maybe that person that you were planning to visit and you try to visit them every week and you haven't been able to in the past couple of weeks, maybe you find a way of compromising and maybe you'll FaceTime that person instead or have a good conversation with them over the phone. That's one of the few things we do anymore is actually talk on the phone, right? The main thing we do is text away, which is good, it's convenient, but everything has its pros and cons. So you think about what are those things and think about how maybe you can minimize it. Because one of the things I've learned in life is that it's not how you do things or what you do, it's really how you break it apart. How much pressure you're putting on yourself and others. Because you have to remember, when you're under pressure, you become stressed. Then you take it off on the people around you. And then they wonder why you're being so standoffish or yelling at them or just in such a bad mood. And at some point, that bad mood continues to linger. And then you may become a miserable person and you become burnt out. And that's what we're trying to, not let happen, because you should be able to live your life to the fullest. And your life should be a happy life. It should be a peaceful life and as stress-free as possible. Of course, your life is not going to be perfect because no one's life is perfect, no matter how much money you have, no matter what are the materialistic things you have in your life, and the list goes on. No one's life is perfect. But the most important thing is your health, because without your health, you don't have work, you don't have family, you can't enjoy a beautiful day, and the list goes on. And so when we are hard on ourselves, it affects our health because we become so stressed that we start to create all these scars and illnesses within our bodies. So once you finish deciding what are those 5 things, and you really take a step back and think about, wow, how can I really break this up and minimize it? Maybe it'll help you realize that those things are not really as big as you thought they were. And you can start applying it in other parts of your life, whether it's with friendships or your marriage or relationships with family members or work, or, the list goes on, right? Or even with strangers that you interact with every day. Sometimes like that kind of pressure is put on us. When you're stuck in traffic, you're surrounded by strangers. And we feel like that pressure if you need to get to a place and now you're running late. And people start honking the horn, and then you get angry at them and they get angry at you because you're going back and forth, and then there's road rage, right? All these things that we can eliminate if we allow ourselves to be more at peace, be more mindful, and eliminate that pressure in our lives. Because once you start to do that, it becomes a habit. And that habit is going to allow you to not make something small into something that's super big. One of the things that I talk to my students about is, well, when you approach me, think about, is this a tiny problem? Is this a small problem, a medium problem, a big problem, or enormous problem? And I give them examples of what all those things are. So, a tiny problem could be, maybe you got a paper cut and you need to wash it off and put a Band-Aid. And an enormous problem is someone in your family is very ill and they really need your extra love and attention right now. I think sometimes we make everything an enormous problem when it really isn't. And then when we really take a hard look at what other people are going through in life, especially how many people are ill and suffering from chronic pain, cancer, different diseases and illnesses, it puts things in perspective for us. And then we go back to that gratitude piece of realizing, wow, things are really not that bad. So why am I putting so much pressure on myself? And why am I allowing it to be this huge thing? And pressure from other people around you who you feel are putting pressure on you. Well, sometimes those people are those toxic people that we talked about. And we've talked about how you need to create boundaries with those individuals. And sometimes you just need to eliminate them from your life. And that's impossible sometimes because, well, you may work with them or their family, right? So when it comes to pressure, part of it is because of what we choose to take on. So let's say your boss asked you to do certain things for him or her that it's not really part of your job description. You have a choice to say no, but many times people say yes because they want to be a people pleaser, or they just don't want issues, or they think that their boss might frown upon them. So how about your boss asks you to do one thing today and you say yes, but then they ask you for another thing in a couple of days and you say no? See, that's a way of little by little eliminating the pressure. I'm not saying you have to stop saying yes. I'm just saying you have to start learning how to say no. Because one of the biggest things that we do is say yes to a lot of people. And that's where that pressure comes into place, and then we feel guilt. And you shouldn't feel guilty because you're saying no to people. Saying no means you're saying yes to you. You're saying, yes, I love myself, I care for myself, I want the best for myself, and I want to be healthy on every level, physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. When we allow people to keep putting more and more pressure on ourselves, they're raping us in an emotional, mental way that really, really, really can affect you to the point where you're so physically ill from it that you'll start suffering from other things and different types of chronic pains. And no one is worth that. You have to think about self-care and what's best for you, because the best you is a healthy you. And if you're healthy, then you can give more to the people that truly mean a lot to you, the people that you really love. So please think about how important it is to start eliminating pressure in your personal life, the pressure you put on yourself, and the pressure that the people around you try to put on you. You have choices. Please don't feel like, well, I had to do that. I have to do that. No, you don't. Many times we have to do something only if it's in an emergency situation. But for you to say, I have to do that because my boss said it, or I have to do that because my in-laws said it, or I have to do that because of the pressure from, my child's teacher, or whatever it is. We all have choices. You have to start making the best choices for you, not for anyone else, but you. Because once you take back your power, you're going to see how much better your life is going to be. And remember, you're a role model. You're a role model to a lot of people, especially if you're a parent. And think about, would I want my child to be going through this? Would I want them to feel this much pressure or this stressed? Think of the golden rule. Do unto others what you want done to you. I really believe that that's important, and we've lost sight of that. So I hope that this resonates with you. I hope that it's helpful. I really do hope that you take the time to think about those things that put pressure in your life. It's time for you to say, no more, no más. I'm going to do what's best for me. I'm going to be the best me that I can be. Not for anyone else, but me. And you're going to see that people are going to see that change in you. And some may love it, and some may not. But the most important thing is that you're the one who loves yourself, no one else. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I've said this in the past, and I'm saying it again. One of the greatest gifts that you can give someone is sometimes something that is just as simple as this video. Maybe someone you know needs to hear these words today. Maybe they'll need to hear them in the future. please share it with them. It's such a beautiful gift to pass it on. If you haven't left a comment yet, or a like, or subscribed, please do so. And as I stated before, please share my video with others. I just want people to be happy, feel good, and find ways to be empowered. Thank you again. Much gratitude to all of you for your time. I look forward to next week's video. Heart kisses to all. Gracias. Adios.